afternoon. So he's basing himself there. He's been practicing with Steve Bunting.
First leg, it's Steve to throw first. Game on.
And the former champion of the world, Stephen Bunting, says, you want to watch out for this lad. To be honest, I knew that already because I'd seen him at Q School. I've seen him on the tour this year. He is really playing some good stuff. And I'll just go through some of his games in a moment. But he's up against Steve Beaton, Nico, and this actually could turn out to be one of the games of the day, maybe even the weekend if they get going.
Well, on my way over here yesterday,
96.
I looked at the draw and saw this immediately and thought, that's pretty tasty. Because in a time where you just want a bit of what you used to, which is exactly what you get from Steve Beaton. We're never going to get sick of him, that's for sure. But sometimes you just need a bit of extra 5 spice. Wow. And that's what you get from Hong Kong Fooey in that delightful walk-on that we'll probably be starring in the next episode of CSI Kettering.
140.
Well, I think it's going to actually be quite good. Got a bit of a few moves in there. I liked it. But it is
96.
A mix of the old and a mix of the new. I like it. Leung, a guy you might have seen play at the World Cup of Darts on more than one occasion. Playing for Hong Kong. He is a lot quicker than he used to be. He used to do the ghost dart before pretty much every single dart, not just every throw. He'd have a sort of practice arm movement, which meant that it took forever. But he's sped up a bit, and he really did play some impressive stuff at Q School, and indeed on the tour so far, even though he hasn't won loads of games. Beaton leaves himself 70.
Well, of course, after leaving the characteristic bogey number, which he leaves all the time.
28. Steve requires 70.
Should be a 54. It's going to leave double 16. And deny a chance at the 150 out for Kai Fan Leung.
Second leg, it's Kai to
really
throw
good
first.
start from Steve.
Game on.
Who was in typical mood 2.5 hours ago when he shared a cab with myself and co-commentator Mr. Malarkey.
You lucky man.
Just hasn't changed over the years. He's exactly the same. That's why we love it. Plays the game the same way with the same joy and the same brilliance.
He's already had a couple of quarterfinals. He's only had 6 Players' Championship events so far this year. He made the quarterfinal of the most recent one and a quarterfinal of the very first one. It's not a bad return, that. Particularly when you take into account that everybody who's been watching the Pro Tour this year has been going on about the standard being through the roof and how almost every single tour card holder has turned up to it and they're playing well. And yet the Bronze Adonis has found himself in a couple of quarterfinals already.
96.
He wants to keep that streak going, doesn't he, of consecutive match plays.
Well, good start to the year to do just that.
Never been seeded for the match play either, which is one of the weirdest statistics I've ever heard.
He just seems to hover between 17 and 30 in the world rankings, doesn't he? He always does enough. In fact, I'll take you through his earnings year by year 21. In PDC darts because it is astonishingly consistent. I mean, it's baffling. I only looked this up this morning. But, you know, you go back to 2009-10, it was 80 grand. Then it was 70 grand. At 60, 50, 70, 60, 60, 80. Had a great year a couple of years ago, 100 grand. But of course, prize money's been going up a bit. And he's had 100 grand, 95 grand, 122 grand last year, his biggest earning year. I know there's a lot more tournaments, I know there's more prize money around, but it just demonstrates that he's constantly thereabouts. And he's constantly thereabouts on 162, 165, 168. That's what he leaves, bogey numbers. Because you can play this game for decades and still fail to count.
32.
That means that Leung Kai Fan will be coming back.
Oh, he would have had a shot on the 161 as well. But he's not going to change, and we're not going to change him.
No, never change, Steve. Now, double top. Plenty of room to the right.
On the second leg,
very nicely done.
I think if you're going to miss tops with that flat landing dart, you want to miss there. You've still got plenty of room.
I mean, he didn't use it in the end, but I mean, that's one that he could almost use as a guide coming off the side of it, couldn't he?
Yeah, very much so. In off the cush. But his technique, like most of the Asian players that you see come through these days, is just flawless. And you think about some of the lady players coming from Japan, and Kai Leung, the Hong Kong female dart player, fabulous technique.
140.
There's that go start at the back.
Yeah, he does it, before the visit rather than when he's at the hockey.
I think he was encouraged to do that, because I remember a game he played in Wigan once against young Joe Davis of Brighton, and it was 6-5. Joe came off the board and he looked exhausted because the game took 50 minutes.
Yeah, I think that would have been one of the UK Open qualifiers a few years ago. A lot of the Asian players coming over to Q School hang around for the UK Open qualifiers, see if they can get to the UK Open. Wham Bam Royden Lam, of course, one of the players who's done that. Royden Lam, a guy who won his tour card on more than one occasion, but never made use of it. Now, Leung is over here. He's obviously got family over here. He's been playing the first few events. I genuinely don't know whether his plans to go back to Hong Kong and keep returning might be messed up by the whole coronavirus thing. Beaton decides to leave himself double 16. But it might be that Leung decides to extend his spell over here. We'll have to see what plays out with that whole situation. But I think he's a really good player, and I'll take you through his games in a moment at the end of this leg, because it's been really good performances.
He's had a miscount himself there, but it didn't matter in the end. But there's been a miscount on the leads in every leg of this match. We've had 165, 162, and that was a 165 as well, wasn't it?
A 166.
166.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's very difficult not to try and emulate the Adonis when he's right there in front of you.
58.
So yeah, have a look at these. So far this year, Leung Kai Fan hasn't gone on any massive runs. He's had a second round a couple of times. He's had a board final, a third round of the Players' Championship Series. Players he's lost to. He lost in the opening day to Adrian Lewis. He didn't play brilliantly. It was only an 88 average, but it's a two-time world champion, your very first Pro Tour event. The next day, it took a 97 average from Jermaine Wattermina to beat him. The next day, 104 average from Johnny Clayton. After that, a 97 average from Harry Ward. After that, 111 average from Steve Lennon. And in the most recent one, Daryl Gurney averaged 100 and beat him, despite Leung Kai Fan averaging 98 himself. He's actually in the top 32 in the average. He's averaging almost 95 so far this year, but he hasn't had many rewards. And one of the best things about the Dart Connect system, you can see what people are throwing against you.
83.
More than 95 is the average that he's facing. Now, that puts him in the unlucky top 16.
135.
So if he carries on playing at this level, I think his luck will turn, and you will start to see him make some inroads in ranking events. And who knows, maybe this weekend here in Belgium.
Yeah, he's got to stay positive though, and if he does keep being defeated with those good stats, it's easy to get a bit downhearted. But getting here, it was a 104 average of his own to take out Ross Smith 6-3, which is a great win. And yes, his stats came down by over 20 in the next game against Steve Brown, but it's still a great achievement to make your way to Belgium at the start of 2020. And right now he's doing a decent job in this somewhat cagey start to this match.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, there are some massive tournaments that take place over in Asia. Kai Fan has played in a number of them, so I don't think it's going to be daunting being up on this stage. Of course, played the World Cup of Darts as well. Can he force one under there into the 60? Not quite.
Well, the last time I commentated on Steve Beaton in this kind of atmosphere, he took a 1-4 one out, and that was for a 9. He's not going to get 10 better here, but he is going to pressurise that 60. 71 left, Steve. Choices. Treble 17, he's undecided.
86.
Pushes it into the 6.
I require 60.
Well, with his darts going in as they do, this shouldn't be too much of an issue. Can he go over the top, or is he looking left? A little bit of both.
20. Steve requires 65.
Not to be.
That's the kind of deflection he wanted on the 20 shot. To just cush its way in. Well, 54 left for Steve. He's got himself on a double.
25.
That one is like Dalton Grant trying to do the high jump. Way over the bar.
Winner of this one will face Nathan Aspinall.
Game shot the forward leg.
Number 10 seed here this
Steve
weekend.
to throw first. Game on.
But for my money, right up there in the top 4, 5 players in the world right now. Just looks so likely, Nathan Aspinall. Back-to-back wins against multiple world champions in the Premier League. Joint top of the Premier League at the moment. Michael van Gerwen only second on leg difference.
There's a lot of intensity with Nathan right now, which suits him a lot and makes him very watchable.
I just think things are going to happen when Nathan Aspinall is
60.
involved in a game of darts. Good things. None better than the stuff he produced to win one of the Pro Tour events in the opening weekends of the 2020 season.
Yeah, he played rather well that day, didn't he?
He did. The best darts he's ever played. 117 average against Peter Snakebite Wright.
And the response from Snakey was to get a 120 plus last week. So who's gonna get the personal best of 2020? Is that 123 and change from Peter Wright from last year going to get beaten? I am sticking my neck out and saying yes.
Ooh.
I think it will be beaten.
I don't know if we'll see a better average than what Peter Wright produced the other day. Kai Fan Leung. It's his first 180 on the Euro Tour, and it's a chance to break the throw of Beaton.
140.
Who's to say we could get our first 121 plus average on the Euro Tour? Wow. Record at the moment is 118.66 from Dave Chisnell. Kai Fan needs 51, which he gets for ball for the lead.
I love a bullseye soft hit players. You wouldn't know it from that one.
Steve Beaton 143.
One of the hardest checkouts on the board for me, 143. And again, he's a bit mystified on dart 3. He doesn't know what to go for, but he's left himself double 19. Interesting route. It's not in his hands anymore. Double 16 then.
Yeah,
and he has the lead. Very handy.
Flag, it's Kai to throw first. Game on.
I wonder if he's playing any soft tip while he's playing more steel tip over here. I get the feeling he might if he's practicing with Stephen Bunting, because Stephen is of course a former darts live champion from La Rochelle, and they play a lot of stuff in that area of England from 8 feet. Because of course within the PDC system it's 7'9.25", the hockey, but one of the reasons why Stephen was so good at soft tip is because he plays from 8 feet at one of his league matches.
Well, when you went and represented England, was it Britain? It was England, wasn't it?
Team UK, yeah.
Oh, Team UK, okay. In the old soft tip World Cup with Andy Jenkins, Fallon Sherrick. Who else was it? Who was the other member?
Adrian Gray.
Adrian Gray, of course it was.
Our team captain.
So when you were playing from 8 feet there,
yes.
How big a difference was it for you to adjust?
Only very minimal, because the trebles and the doubles and the bullseye segments were ever so slightly bigger, but when you go back about 2 and a bit inches, it just feels the same.
Right, so it kind of compensates.
Correct.
Right.
Just takes a little bit of extra power in the shoulder and the wrist, but I don't think there's a great deal of difference. I think if you were Steve Beaton, for instance, playing soft tip, you'd have a huge difference because the darts have to go in flat.
Well, that's the other thing as well, isn't it? You see Kai Fan here, his darts are going in pretty flat, and that's a legacy of a guy who started out in soft tip, where that's how they fly and that's how they stick in the board. And if you go in an upright angle, you've got less chance of them sticking in there and registering. I know they register even if they don't stick in, but even so, you've got less chance.
Correct. Steve plays this game very simply and brilliant. He just sticks to steel tip. That's what he's good at. But right now, Leung, for me, is in position for a potential upset here. Beaton was on 151 earlier. Kai Fan Leung gets closer to taking it out, but Beaton needs the 141 to stay in touch. You just see small signs of frustration from Steve.
87. Kai requires 60.
Well, they could be compounded with this. He had a shot at this earlier on and missed 2 at tops.
140.
You can see why he moved. That second camera angle showed how that first dart was dropping over a lot of the bed.
Misses the single. One shot at tops then. Oh, he's got himself out of jail. And even though he hits the double, he does shake his head.
Steve to throw first.
That's exactly what Kai Fan Leung was doing previously after missing a 60 checkout for the second time in the match. Not just about how many times you hit in a match, it's how many times you miss. That's what we saw in the last match. Misses were vital, hits were vital.
140.
Everybody hit everything in this game. It would be boring to watch. Sometimes the misses can make drama.
Oh, he's a good 10 points off his average so far this year, Leung. You know there's more, and maybe he's about to start finding it. That's his second maximum.
140.
Back-to-back 1040s means that Beaton does hold the advantage. It is tight, this game. It's a difficult one to call. Who's going to be going through to face the Asp, the UK Open champion, who will be defending his title next weekend in Minehead.
96.
Hard to believe that was 12 months ago.
What 12 months it's been for Nathan. This time last year, he was a guy who'd picked up a Pro Tour win, had a fantastic run at the World Championship, but still had a lot to, big steps to make to be part of the world's elite. Well, now, I don't think there's anybody who'd quibble that you include him in that bracket.
Where does he want to go here? Maybe bullseye. I like that play.
105.
Takes the bullseye out of commission for the checkout. After the miss on the 51,
97.
Kai Fan needs to stay straight and get one good dart out of the first two to give himself a shot for 4-3.
Well, he's not been very good at taking out 60, has he? So 120, the chances seem slim, especially after that one.
60. Stevie requires 64.
If he is allowed back, he'll have another crack at that 60. I think Steve Beaton will be feeling quite happy about things. Double 4.
60.
Well thrown stuff from Steve,
60.
but kisses the wire twice. I wonder if Steve thinks this game's just getting away from him a little bit and he's giving too many chances to Kai Fan Leung. Oh, he's hit tops. Well, if you don't succeed the first time or the second time, just try a different way. And get two right in the corner.
It's Kai to throw first.
Well, I'm not sure if Steve was paying attention to that. He might have been watching, which is why he stomped over to the water table.
That's one of those you've got to be kidding me moments. Right in the corner, right in the corner.
Well, the thing is, he has survived a couple of times with Leung having shots at 60, hasn't he? So even if he's not gone the prescribed route, he was bound to go sooner or later.
60.
Can't keep leaving your opponent on 60, that's the trouble.
Absolutely. See our first Belgian participant coming up after this, Ronnie Hybrex.
It's one of your favourites, isn't he?
He's one of everybody's favourites, surely.
42.
Ronnie Hybrex, very tough assignment though against Luke Humphries, who's been an absolute ninja so far this year and averaging in huge numbers and losing games.
43.
He'll be stepping up as one of the Premier League participants next week as the challenger or contender, whatever you want to call it, in Exeter, taking on Gary Anderson.
Well, earlier in the year, when I was asked to predict my challengers, I actually said you should put Ryan Searle in at Exeter, just for a bit of something southwestern. But I'm not adverse to a bit of Humphries in Exeter again.
He is playing well, but I mean, as we've seen here, Leung is a good 7-8 points off his average on the tour. It is a bit different when you get on that Euro Tour stage. It's 5 months away, the Euro Tour has been. It's first time ever for Leung.
Well, if anything, it's just a little different visually as well, because when you play on the floor, you're used to the blue background.
Yeah.
And when you go up there, you've got black and obviously the red carpet. It's a bit more blingy. You've got all those words and the continent under it.
Well, could we see a two-leg gap open up here? 20 and bull. Double 5 it is then.
75.
He's not been particularly convincing at the top of the board, has he?
Tops. it is for Steve. And he draws level again with one in the corner of his own. And he's not going to give up without a fight. Getting back to the hockey in a hurry. Why not?
140.
Well, there have been a number of misses from Kai Fan Leung. There you see, the scoring is pretty even. But Steve Beaton, his average is a shade higher, and it's all about the finishing stats.
93.
Because Beaton is hitting more than half his darts at double, and Leung is only hitting 1 in 3. And they've been spread out over a number of legs, a few of which he's lost. So, to be honest, I think the Adonis can probably consider himself a little bit fortunate in some respects to be level here and favourite to win this game from this position. There you see he's had darts to win 5 of the 7 legs, as has Beaton.
80.
But there have been multiple darts there.
139.
Leg 6, the big one.
Steve Beaton on 265 went 19s first there, which is the right play at 265, and then he switches to 20s after getting the single. That's the wrong way to go, but he's got out of jail with 2 big 60 shots.
81.
It's almost as if he knows that something should be done, but he's not quite sure what.
He went for the old school 126.
86.
Lays up perfectly for tops, and I think he's picked up the pace a little bit here, just trying to speed Kai Fan up. Seems to be working.
Well, to go with a leg of victory, Steve Beaton wants double top. The finishing has been very good for the bronzed Adonis. Continues to be so, and that is the difference in this contest so far.
Hey, you're talking about Luke Humphries being a ninja at losing games this year and playing well. Remember last season when Steve Beaton was a ninja at the qualifiers?
Oh,
and he was like that in qualifying for this. He had a 100 average against Northey, who we haven't seen in forever. And Christian Bunser, he averaged 99. But last year in qualifiers, Steve Beaton just owned it.
108.
he did, and he might be putting his stamp on this contest. It's his first 180, and it's coming what he hopes is the final leg of the match.
It's almost like he's seen the finishing line after that 118 checkout and said, I've had enough of this. It's time to put the foot down and get to the checkered flag.
Oh, great adjustment.
100.
It's an 80-ton, and Leung Kai Fan feeling the pressure. He led 3-2 and 4-3 in this game, but a missed start at double 5 for 5-3 may well prove to be his undoing. But that was only capitalised upon by Beaton with the 118 checkout, so that's what this game's about.
Well, Steve's getting to the hockey so fast.
140.
He's really close to clipping the heels of Kai Fan Leung. He just wants this done. It's almost like he's got a late lunch reservation at 2:45 local time.
Imagine what it'd be like if Leung threw at the pace he used to throw. It'd be knocking him out of the way.
Stevie Leung, 81.
So to seal it, 12 and ball. Double 13. Oh, the wire move there.
Kai require 106.
Give it a nudge, all right. This will be some way to keep yourself in the match. Not going to go. And Steve cannot afford, for me, to go inside on dart 1. If he's going to miss it outside.
He's gone inside. It's back for the 4s. And I do wonder whether that first dart was in the way slightly.
The flight was. That's why I said he can't go inside. Could come a cropper now. 2 double tops, is it? Because the 60's shielded.
Right, he's only hit tops twice in this game, and once was accidentally. He didn't fancy him to pin 2, and he's left the 60 again, which he's struggled to take out. He may not get a go at it. And he doesn't, because Steve Beaton, puff of the cheeks. It was hard work in the end, but the Adonis, a mid-90s average.